The house had been dead for 40 years. That was how the realtor described it, with the cheerful brutality of someone who had learned to make decay sound like opportunity. Abandoned since 1983. Previous owner deceased, no living relatives, estate sold to cover outstanding debts. Structurally sound despite surface deterioration. Priced accordingly. Nadia Reyes bought it on the third viewing, which was the viewing where she found the door to the cellar behind the false panel in the library and descended into a room that smelled of old stone and iron and something else, something indefinable, the olfactory equivalent of a word in a language she did not speak but recognized. She made an offer that afternoon. Her colleagues at the architectural firm thought she had finally cracked under the project load. Her sister thought it was a grief response. Their mother had died in February, and Nadia had been moving through the world since then with the careful, deliberate energy of someone rebuilding themselves from first principles. Her therapist said nothing diagnostic but did ask, during their next session, what it was about the house specifically. Nadia had thought about this. It felt like something was waiting in it, she said. Not in a frightening way. In the way a question waits for an answer. Nadia moved in on a Saturday in October with 3 boxes, a sleeping bag, and a professional-grade flashlight. The renovation was going to take months. She had time. She met Valdis on the 9th night. She had been working late in the east wing, pulling plaster from walls to expose the original stonework underneath, satisfying work, physical and uncomplicated, the kind of effort that asked nothing of her mind except attention. The flashlight threw long shadows across the floor. Outside, October rain worked at the windows. She heard no door open. No footstep. One moment the room contained only Nadia and the dust she had raised. The next, it contained someone else. Nadia did not scream. She had spent enough of her life in collapsing buildings and structurally compromised spaces that her fight or flight response had been recalibrated away from screaming and toward assessment. She turned, plastered dust still suspended in the beam of her flashlight, and looked at the woman standing in the doorway. She was tall. Very still in the way that suggested stillness was a choice made rather than a state arrived at. Dark hair. An angular face with the particular quality of a portrait, as though she had been looked at for a very long time and had learned to be looked at. She wore clothes that were not quite contemporary, close enough to pass at a distance, but with details that sat slightly outside of time. Her eyes in the flashlight caught the light in a way that eyes did not. "You are in my house," the woman said. Her accent was precise and faintly displaced, the diction of someone who had learned the language very well and very long ago. "I bought this house," Nadia said. A pause. "That is not how it works. Property law suggests otherwise." The woman studied her with the focused attention of a creature accustomed to being the most dangerous thing in any given room. Nadia met her gaze with the focused attention of an architect who had spent 12 years doing structural assessments in buildings that wanted to kill her. The silence lasted approximately 30 seconds. "You are not afraid," the woman observed. "I didn't say that. Your heartbeat is elevated but controlled. You have not moved toward the exit. I noticed there's only one exit and you're standing in it." Something moved in the woman's expression. It was not quite a smile, it was the precursor to a smile, the structural decision that might lead to one. "My name is Valdis," she said. "I have owned this property since 1743. Nadia Reyes. I own it since last month." A beat. "What are you, exactly?" Valdis seemed to find this question mildly interesting. "What do you think I am?" Nadia considered her flashlight, the way the light caught those eyes, the absence of sound that should have preceded her arrival, the perfect stillness of her, the quality of something that did not need to breathe unless it chose to, that did not fidget or shift weight because the passing of seconds was not, for her, the same pressure it was for everyone else. "Something old," Nadia said. "Something that's been here a very long time." "Yes," said Valdis. They established ground rules on the second conversation, which took place in the kitchen 3 days later. Nadia had made coffee. Valdis did not drink it but sat across the table with the patient attention of someone observing a ritual. Valdis would not harm her. This was stated plainly, without the performative reassurance Nadia might have expected from a creature with reason to manage her perceptions. It was stated the way one states a structural fact: this beam bears this much weight, this foundation rests on this material, this entity does not consume the humans in its dwelling. Nadia had, over 3 days, arrived at a tentative taxonomy. She had done research. She had catalogued everything she observed. Valdez found this methodical. Most humans who encounter what I'm spend considerable energy on denial, Valdez said. I'm an architect. I work with what's actually there. And what is actually there? Nadia looked at her across the kitchen table, at the stillness of her, the particular gravity of her presence, the way 300 years of existing had settled into her face and posture like sediment, layering and refracting. Something I don't fully understand yet. Which means I should keep paying attention. Valdez was quiet for a moment. You may stay in the house. I own the house. You may stay in the house, Valdez repeated, and this time there was something in it, a concession that cost her something, offered anyway. The renovation took 8 months. Nadia worked through the winter and into the spring, and Valdez moved through the house the way weather moved, present and then not, appearing in rooms Nadia occupied, watching with the open, uncomplicated attention of a being for whom curiosity had outlasted many other things. She asked questions sometimes, about the work, about the materials, about why Nadia had chosen to preserve the original stonework in the east wing rather than replace it. Because it's still good, Nadia said. It's done its job for 3 centuries. It just needs someone to care for it. Valdez looked at the wall. Something moved in her face that Nadia had learned to read by then, not the precursor to a smile but something quieter, something that lived in the chest rather than the features. Yes, she said. They did not speak about what was happening between them for a long time. This was not avoidance, it was the careful architecture of 2 very different creatures learning whether the structure they were building could bear weight. She kissed Valdez for the first time in the library, in February, with the false panels standing open and the cellar stairs descending into dark below them. Valdez went very still, stiller than her ordinary stillness, the stillness of something genuinely surprised, something that had spent centuries managing its reactions and found itself, in this moment, without management. Her hands, when they came up to frame Nadia's face, were cold. Nadia had known they would be. She had not known how much she would not mind. Spring came to the house the way spring came to places that had been holding their breath, all at once, extravagant, slightly shocking. Nadia opened the shutters in the east wing and let the light in, and Valdez stood at the edge of it with a patience that was not resignation, but something else, the willingness of something very old to be surprised by things it had seen many times before and found, in this particular light, new. She did not tell Nadia she loved her with words. She told her with the particular attention of someone for whom paying attention was an act of will rather than an accident, who had, over 3 centuries, learned the cost of caring about things that ended and chosen, this once, to pay it again. Nadia told her with words, because she was human and words were the architecture she worked in. She said it one morning over coffee, simply, without ceremony, and watched Valdez receive it, the stillness before the movement, the thing happening in her eyes before it reached her face. You understand what I am, Valdez said, eventually. What it means. What it costs. I'm an architect, Nadia said. I've been making load-bearing calculations since I walked in. She had been honest with herself about what she was choosing, the length of her own life laid against the length of Valdez's, the arithmetic that did not resolve neatly, the loss that was already built into what they were. She had done the structural assessment and found the foundation sound. Whatever form the equation took over the years they had, she intended to be fully present in all of it. To leave nothing unexamined, nothing unconsidered, nothing unexperienced out of some misguided attempt to make the ending hurt less. Valdez moved into the house properly in April. She brought 3 boxes, too. Nadia found this symmetrical. She said so. 300 years of accumulation, Valdez said, and it turns out very little of it mattered. She looked at Nadia when she said it. She did not look away. 300 years of accumulation and very little of it mattered. Drop a comment if that line hit you somewhere real. Tell me the moment this story got into you. I want to know. If this story stayed with you, hit the like button and subscribe. There are more stories like this one waiting for you. I will see you in the next one.